Tellico Village Broadcasting, your source of programming highlighting active lifestyles in our beautiful surroundings.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the POA Board Update. I'm Rick Blau, your POA Board President, and I'll be talking to you about two subjects today. As you all know, the board has been laser focused on the 2021 budget and 10-year plan. But before I get to that, I want to talk to you about an issue that surfaces frequently in Tellico Village. The issue is municipal incorporation. I've been a Tellico Village property owner since 1997 and a resident for a little over 12 years. I cannot remember a year when the issue of municipal incorporation has not come up from one source or another. In fact, when I was the HOA president in 2012, I thought that this might be a good idea. And those of you who know me know that I don't reach a conclusion on any issue unless I've thoroughly researched the facts. Doing so on the issue of municipal incorporation quickly disavowed me of any inclination to favor going down that path. First, a little history. Prior to 1998, municipal incorporations in Tennessee were not all that uncommon. In many cases, these came at the expense of the state's major municipalities in terms of both land and population. Think Farragut. In 1998, at the behest of these larger municipalities, the state legislature changed the incorporation law. The new rules made the process so expensive and so cumbersome that it virtually stopped new incorporations in Tennessee. In fact, there have been 0 incorporations since the law changed. I have spoken with a number of state legislators, and they've expressed surprise about how difficult incorporation is, so they don't even know the rules. Recently, County Commissioner Van Shaver posted an article on his blog advocating that Tellico Village incorporate. In my experience, Mr. Shaver, who does not represent any portion of Tellico Village, has frequently expressed his disdain for Tellico Village, even though we provide a significant amount of tax revenue, volunteer services, and economic benefit to the county. He and Henry Cullen, one of our own commissioners, have repeatedly urged the village to incorporate, choosing to sell the idea without telling the whole story. So, what are the requirements? Under Tennessee Code Annotated Section 6-1-201, to be eligible for incorporation, a new city must have 1,500 residents, be in an approved planned growth area, and be a minimum of 3 miles from any other municipality. To qualify for incorporation, all 3 threshold requirements must be met. We certainly have the required population, and we are located in a planned growth area. However, the Loudoun County portion of the village is within 3 miles of both Loudoun and Lenoir City, and Kahety is within 3 miles of Vonore. Even if this hurdle could be cleared, there are other more severe impediments, most of which are glossed over by Messrs. Shaver and Cullen. Our Kahety neighborhood is in a different county and is not contiguous to the rest of the village. This is not a fact that we can ignore. We cannot and will not cast Kahety off to fend for itself, which seems to be what Shaver and Cullen are advocating. The village's founding documents requires that the POA protect the rights of all property owners. Any proposed incorporation must be approved by a county commission where the incorporation is proposed. What do you do with 2 counties? The incorporation laws do not provide for this. A written petition containing the signatures of 1/3 of all registered voters in the proposed municipality and stating with specificity the proposed boundaries must be presented to the County Election Commission. The petition must include a plan for city services and the revenue source from which these services will be funded. This is called a property tax. Minimally, services must include police protection, fire protection, water service, sanitary sewer service, solid waste disposal, road and street construction and repair, recreational facilities, and a 5-year operations budget, including the proposed municipal property tax. The proposed municipality would also require the following personnel: a city manager or mayor, an executive administrative staff, a police department professional and administrative staff, fire department professional and administrative staff, municipal court judge and staff, records custodian, a city council, and utility, sanitation, road, and recreation department staffs. This would require a significant property tax. Here's what you're not being told. Where you came from, it's likely that your property was encumbered by deed restrictions. These flow with the land and tell you what you can and cannot do with that land. Here in Tellico Village, those deed restrictions are called the covenants and restrictions, or CNRs, and attached to every piece of property in the village. The CNRs are the founding documents of Tellico Village. They define every property owner's rights and responsibilities. The emphasis here being on property owners, not residents. As a result, even if we incorporate, the POA does not go away. The POA and the municipal government would operate as two distinct levels of authority, one having a fiduciary duty to protect the rights of property owners, and the other providing city services to residents. There is no way that this provides a less expensive model of governance. Mr. Shaver opines that new sources of revenue would be available to the village. He cites the availability of state and federal grants. Grants, by their very nature, are single purpose and can't be relied upon to fund ongoing operations. Further, under state law, a city may be able to obtain some limited state shared revenue, including a proportional share of sales tax, beer tax, petroleum products tax, gross receipts tax, and the gasoline tax. Unfortunately, under that same law, for 15 years following incorporation, the new city must give the county where it resides the same amount of local option sales tax and beer tax that the county was collecting prior to the date of incorporation. Thus, we would receive essentially no financial assistance during our first 15 years as a city. Since Tellico Village has minimal commercial and no industrial base, the burden of the property tax to fund village operations must necessarily fall upon village residents. Furthermore, it does not even consider the onerous terms of the TRDA lease that runs to 2044 and would be an additional burden on, as Mr. Shaver calls it, the new city of Tellico Village. I guess this qualifies to Mr. Shaver's way of thinking as, quote unquote, the easy way for the village to get more money. I'll tell you what it's easy for. It's easy for Loudoun County. They lose nothing for 15 years and can simply ignore us even more than they do at present. And on top of that, they still collect property taxes from Tellico Village property owners at the same level as before. Currently, under the POA structure, we pay our way through assessments and user fees. Assessments are collected from every property owner, whether they live here or not. User fees are collected from those who utilize our facilities and services. Property taxes to fund a city government would fall mainly on residents. In my experience in the village, I've come to believe that under the present Tennessee statute on incorporation, it's a very bad deal for Tellico Village. Instead, since we can't get fair treatment from the Loudoun County government, we focused our efforts on lobbying those who represent us and other organizations like us in Nashville. Tellico Village is a tax-exempt 501c4 mutual benefit corporation. There are only a few others like us in the whole state. Through our lobbying efforts, the state legislature has granted us some of the benefits typically reserved only for cities. We have a sales tax exemption for some of our public works and safety purchases, sales tax relief on recreation memberships, a permit to sell wine and liquor by the glass in our restaurants, and a license to sell packaged liquor and wine. With each new grant of a right by the state, we move closer to getting most of the benefits of a city with none of the burdens. This is not a result that Loudoun County wants to see, and we can expect them to resist our efforts. Presently, we have 3 commissioners that represent parts of the Loudoun County portion of Tellico Village, and 1 that represents Kahidi in Monroe County. There are county elections in our future. It is incumbent upon us to vote in the numbers that showed up for the recent national elections this year, and to make sure that we elect representatives that will serve our interests. In the meantime, your POA board will continue to pursue every avenue at our disposal to continue to advance our cause with those that represent us in Nashville. The second topic that I wanted to talk about is the 2021 budget. For the last several months, the POA board, with the help of our POA management team, finance staff, and finance advisory committee, has deliberated and debated the 2021 budget and ensuing 10-year plan. Every meeting was live streamed, and some of you watched and participated, and we thank you for being involved in this vital annual exercise. When we approved and built the new Toqua Clubhouse and the Kahidi Activity Center, we knowingly depleted our reserves. Additionally, our roads and water and sewer system maintenance programs have taxed those same resources even further. And then COVID hit, straining our finances, especially in recreation and food service. In response, and to maintain acceptable levels of service to our property owners, we put in place contingency plans to conserve cash. We deferred many planned projects, and we applied for and received a $1.2 million loan under the Federal Paycheck Protection Program, money that we believe will become a grant at some point in the future. After the clubhouse projects, the board promised to rebuild village reserves. In furtherance of this, we set a 2020 and a 2021 objective to rationalize our reserve processes and fund our reserves to 30% of our asset base, or $9 million. This is a generally accepted standard for reserve accumulation. In formulating the budget, we were guided by our needs to rebuild the reserves, to maintain our assets, including handling the deferred projects from last year, and to address village needs. So where did this all come out? Last Wednesday, the board, in open session, approved the 2021 budget and accepted the 10-year plan subject to its future review. Here's what's in it. First, a 2021 capital plan consisting of $3.6 million being invested in the village's future. Most of this, nearly 90%, is for replacement of end-of-life capital and what is required to run the village. Only $476,000 is considered new assets. The overall number includes needed projects that were deferred when COVID struck. Among these investments are new docks, Kahidi and Tenasseee golf course bunker renovations, the Wellness Center roofing projects, there's 2, a second golf simulator, and significant yacht club renovations. Second is a 2021 operating budget for revenues, expenses, and net income. It includes a 5% assessment increase and new user fee schedules. Third is the elimination of the dock reserve fund, resulting in treating docks like every other village amenity. Current dock reserve funds will be distributed to the R&M and amenity reserves. This simplifies our reserve structure. As I said, that was one of our objectives, and we'll continue to work on that next year. Funds for dock maintenance will come from the R&M reserve, just like every other amenity in the village, and expansions will come from the amenity reserve, which will be funded entirely from dock lease payments. Under this plan, we will construct a new set of docks in both 2021 and 2022. Fourth, implementation of the new agreement with LUB effective January 1st. This agreement eliminates the need for us to build a $1.2 million water tank in the north end of the village and assures us the water pressure that we need for our future. Fifth, there is no new debt. And in 2021, there will be a reduction in debt principal of $318,000. And finally, there's a cash flow plan that maintains our $1.5 million operating cash balance and sets the course to our $9 million target for reserves. Under our plan, we should hit our reserve accumulation goal in late 2023 or early 2024. While our budget process seems cumbersome, it is important to recognize that it is designed to allow input from a broad range of people in the village. A significant factor in producing our budget plan is to make sure that it is transparent and affords the opportunity for village property owners to be involved in setting the course for Tellico Village's future. I'll continue to keep you posted on future board activities, and I want to thank you for watching. And with that, I want to wish each of you a safe and happy holiday season.